This is a very improvised talk, but I only found out less than an hour ago that I had this slot. And so I'm going to just share some of my own experience of being a retail investor. So someone who's to some extent managing my own finances in a range of investments, from property to stocks and shares, to some cryptos, some digital land, some game projects. Not huge amounts, but the key thing is I'm managing them myself. So to some extent, I'm looking at what is the impact of gamification. So how can we bring gamification into the retail investment world? And my motivation for that is games are an opportunity to experiment, to try and fail, to play and learn through play. If we leave it to the experts, so when I worked for a big corporate, I had an investment fund, and the experts, the managers, decided what investments they would make. And I, as the owner, only had a limited choice. I could invest in, I was in the UK, so I could invest in the UK stock market, I could invest in international stock markets. All the decisions and all the learning was being done by the fund managers. So it feels a bit like snakes and ladders. The game I was playing when I was 6 years old. And I'll share a recent experience I had when I wanted to make a small transfer of funds using a UK bank. And I went through the telephone systems. I had to identify myself to the computer, typing my account number, typing the SWAN code, the identification code of the branch. Then I had to type in a password. Then I was given a long list of choices. And only at the very end was the option to speak to a human being. I chose that option, and again I had to go, it's like joining the snake, going all the way back to the beginning, and I had to start again and identify myself, identify the account number, give part of the password, and at the end of that, I was informed that the email message I'd sent, the secure message using this, wasn't visible to that operator. So I had to again go down another snake and repeat all the information of the transfer by voice. So very cumbersome. And that was just to make one small investment transaction. So I've been looking at, the game of Monopoly, again, that was a childhood game, and I adapted that to make a digital model of a game called Illuvial Zero, which is a land building game, but it's a Web3 game. It's part of a AAA gaming suite, so it's really trying to, it's trying to bring people from the Web3 world of gaming into crypto. So with Web3, they have the opportunity to own their assets. So if they play the game and mine resources, eventually they can sell them. If they capture the NFT creatures, they can build up their catalog and they can sell them. Now this is of interest to me because it's these two worlds coming together. Web3, where people can own their assets, and gaming 2.0, where a platform owns the resources. it makes the rules of the game, it decides what you can do. And as I've become more interested in gamification, I'm interested to see, well, what elements from these worlds can we begin to combine together and then offer retail investors so they have a chance to model their investment portfolios like an experiment. So this was the board I adapted to the game, and there were some significant changes. So traditional Monopoly, you buy a property in the blue set, or you buy one of the 3 properties in the green set. For this game, instead of representing properties, multiple properties on the whole board, I was representing different kinds of structures you can build on one property. What was interesting was the fact that you could map. You could map one game onto another, and by the same token, you could use a Monopoly board to map different asset classes. So people could experiment with building a portfolio of technology stocks, or retail, or residential properties, real estate. They could model precious metals, and there would be enough sophistication in that to give a relatively risk-balanced portfolio. It would be some of the investment funds I have, which are managed by banks, they have a similar number of different equity stocks in a portfolio, which is roughly the same number as residential properties in a Monopoly game. I'd finally like to end up with a framework that I've been using in my specific look at gamification, which is called the Autolysis framework, which was developed by UK Chow. And he's very interested in how you can use gamification. And in particular, he was interested in the psychology of gamification. So he came up with a framework with 8 spokes, so he called it Autolysis. And he was using 8 types of motivation. So at the top, his core drive, called the core drives, which are psychological inputs. So the top input, number 1, was meaning. So the meaning. Someone wants to invest in crypto because it will transform the world. It will open finance to the unbanked. So this is a very powerful cause to get them motivated. Another motivation might be accomplishment. I've become skilled at being able to invest in cryptocurrencies. I've learned enough about them that my investments are more in profit than loss. The third one would be empowerment, so empowering individuals. In the case of the unbanked, previously they didn't have access to finance. Well, you could empower retail investors to understand more about how their investments work, and that will enable them to take more control over their health. I'll just mention one more as social influence. That's over on the right side of the diagram. And social influence is if you've got an investment club and you're sharing with each other what your investment strategies are. You are helping each other to learn. So you create a community. And that's one of the things that Web3 offers, is the possibility to have communities. And here at Eternity 3, there's the Telegram group. It's shared and subdivisions of that group for shared messaging and empowering each other. The other thing UK Chow did with this framework is he had at the top end, he called it white hat, and the bottom half he called it black hat. So black hat would include things like scarcity. So an investment opportunity, invest today because the opportunity will be gone tomorrow. That's a way of almost using fear of loss. This is a very scarce resource, but it's just a slightly manipulative, slightly negative motivation. Whereas empowerment is a more positive, more right approach to engaging in that. So I'll leave it here because I haven't spent a long time preparing this. I've done this as a kind of improvisation to fill in for the speaker who couldn't make it. But if there are any questions or you'd like any clarifications, then please ask.
Yes, wouldn't it all because the gamification is useful in the sleep boats in the lot of why like that? So what can you do with it?
Okay, well, so addiction is one of the things that UK Chow talked about with his Octalysis framework, just to kind of understand. So in terms of addiction, he referred to unpredictability. So when you go to a casino, you know the chances are you're going to end up with less money than when you walked in. But when you're playing, say, the slot machine, you don't know whether you're going to get the prize or not. It's very unpredictable. And then when you do get the prize, as lights flash, the bells really, it makes a big impact. And he talked about an experiment with rats, where they put them in a cage, and if they pressed the lever, food came out. And if the food always came out and they knew it would come out, the rats would eat as much as they need and then stop. But when they made it unpredictable, so the rat pressed the lever and food may come out or it may not come out, then the rats just didn't stop pressing it and would overindulge. So that was, an example of addiction. But what I'm proposing is that gamification would allow people to do experiments. So employees might have their pension fund and get a report once a year. This is the performance, these are the stocks that they invested in that got up and down. They might not know for 5 years really what the long-term outcome of a particular strategy was. Well, if you gamify it, then you're not restricted by time. They could test an investment policy against real data. So you might have to backtrack 5 years. So if I go back 5 years, I invest in technology, real estate, and precious metals. And then I can see over 5 years how that would have performed. And I think that would be a safer way of using gamification. So using it for experimentation. Thank you. Any other questions?
If you're not